All right, boys and girls. So today, really, what I wanted to talk about is something that I see a lot recently. Is people just getting like offended by things that just don't even concern them whatsoever. Like mainly, this is like mainly on Twitter. Like you see this a lot, or they like screenshot it and post it. Like you see it on TikTok or in the TikTok comments, or just other stuff like that. People just love to like not even like people, just like what I'm saying is like nowadays, like maybe not, all back then, but nowadays people just love to get offended over stuff that doesn't even concern them. Like it really doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Or just getting offended over little stuff that like a, a normal human being wouldn't get offended by. You feel me? Like it's just little stuff like people get offended over just the dumbest things you could ever, you know what I'm saying? Like you could ever hear about. Like I was on Twitter and somebody added one of these like musicians, I'm guessing is what he is, and then he was like, the guy that added him was like, "Have you listened to like this new BTS album or whatever or something like that?" And he was like, "No, I haven't." Like that's literally what he put. No, I haven't. And then there's another guy that commented it that was like, "Wow, how rude," or something like that. You could have simply just said, "No, I haven't yet," or "I haven't got around to it," or something like that. I would not be a part of like this guy's content because he's like rude or something like that. And I was like, "What?" Like stuff like that. It just doesn't make sense. And that really wasn't a thing a few years ago. Like 3 4 years ago, nobody really cared. Like the internet should be like a place for you to just be like just say whatever you want. But even in that case, it's not like he said anything crazy. He just said a three word statement. No, I haven't. He just answered the person's questions just straight up. And there's somebody that's getting offended by that. And that happens way more than it doesn't. Like that's kind of crazy how nowadays people just get offended by nothing. Like I don't really want to get into like more sensitive topics yet. I will like probably later down the line, but for like those type of topics, I want to like make the quality of like the videos like more like professional and stuff like this. Like for now, I'm just gonna voice my opinion on a lot of things that I see around because I was thinking about like ideas and stuff like that to make this video on, and like I said, I seen stuff like that, and it just made me think, why are you getting offended about these things that just it really doesn't matter or concern you? It doesn't matter. Like, how can you really sit there and get offended by something that, let's be honest, you don't care about? Like you're doing it just for what validation? That like, oh yeah, I got that guy, I told him. Like who cares? Why do you care? Like I understand not everybody like thinks the way I do. I get that. Not everybody has like is strong minded. Not everybody is, what I'm saying, pretty much has like the mental fortitude of myself or just other people in general. Like me, I could care less about what anybody thinks or says about anything. I don't care. It really doesn't offend me. I'm my own person at the end of the day. The only person, really the only person's opinion that matters is mine. Really, like if it boils down to that, obviously, like you can use that statement for other things, but for this topic that we're talking about in general, just criticism and stuff like that, who cares? No, you shouldn't care. Even if it's your parents, the closest friends, or whoever, who cares, bro? You shouldn't really care. Your only opinion that only the only opinion that matters is yours. Man, I can't speak, but stuff like that is just why do you get offended over nothing? It doesn't just make sense to me. It's just now the internet has gotten really soft. That's why a lot of people really don't like people like Andrew Tate or like Sneeko or like some of these other creators. I'm not saying I agree with everything they say because I 100% don't agree with everything that they say 100%. But a lot of the things that they speak on are true in the world, and a lot of people try to like push them away. Like, oh, these guys are crazy. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Oh, these guys are like, the V words. You know what I mean? But it's just like, what is why? Because they're really honestly some of the things, I'm not saying all, some of them, they're literally speaking on the real world. Like, sorry, maybe not every girl is like a carbon copy Instagram thought, but I mean a lot of them want to be like that and are that. So you sort of really have to adapt to your environment that you're put in. Now there is obviously a ridiculous amount of women that aren't like that, but most of the time people are trying to achieve that goal, like getting plastic surgery, getting your body done, doing this, that, and the third, getting BBLs and all that. Why? Be comfortable in your own skin and stuff like that. I know I'm kind of going on a tangent from what I was talking about before, but what I'm saying is that like like though people like those talk about like the real world. Obviously, when they say like other like blatantly ridiculous things and stuff like that, it's just that, you know, come on, they're just. I mean, you can't really say anything. It's just their opinion. At the end of the day, you just have to do nothing but respect it. You can disagree with it 100%, but you can't really, you know what I'm saying. It's very hard to sway people like that because they are passionate about what they believe in, and they're gonna talk about it very strongly, as you can see in like a lot of the clips that they post. Like with Sneeko, I was watching a debate with him in Destiny last night, and a lot of the points that they were making was very interesting. Like Destiny's whole spiel is that like being a man is pretty much being like the carbon copy, have kids, work, take care of family, die. Like that's pretty much what his set like goal of being a man is, which is, I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's a very respectable thing to do. I can say that, like, you know, saying you're providing for your family. In other words, like that's pretty much what a lot of people's definition of a man, being a provider. But with Sneeko, a lot of things that he was saying is that like pretty much being an alpha male, even though he said he doesn't like that word, but like you can pretty much boil it down to being an alpha male is that pretty much doing what you want to do at any point in your life and not listening to anybody, which is Destiny tried to say you're pretty much describing a 17-year-old kid, which is that like counter argument is like, to me, is being pretty childish. Like, I mean, we're talking about like being a man. We're not talking about some 17-year-old kid in his mom's basement rebelling against his parents because they're telling him to eat his Brussels sprouts. You feel me? It's different than that. Now, this analogy may not be the best, but it's kind of like if you ever seen like Baki or anything like that, and you know who Yujiro is a definition of maybe like an alpha male in a way. He literally does whatever he wants, whenever he wants, and nobody can tell him shit. I feel like that's the kind of definition of what Sneeko says, but the reason why in that show is why he can do it is because he's like the strongest in the fucking show and stuff like that. So, I mean, you can't really compare it all the way to the real world, but like you kind of get the gist of what I'm saying in a way. But, yeah, just stuff like that is just, it really doesn't, I don't know. It's interesting how the internet really swayed from being just fun place of just saying whatever you want, or just like pretty much being passionate about whatever you want, to you have to restrict yourself. Like what Sneeko was saying yesterday, he said freedom of speech is dead, and I 100% believe that freedom of speech is not a thing anymore, especially on the internet. You say what you believe, you will get fucking burned down and destroyed. Like it's kind of crazy, just because like I know this is like a topic that was like talked about years ago, but with the PewDiePie and PewDiePie with no, it wasn't PewDiePie. I didn't mean to say that. It was with Pokimane and somebody, and who was it? It was Pokimane and I think I'm not sure. Pokimane is somebody else, but pretty much what he said is that he said something along the lines of Pokimane, and then she went after his sponsors and stuff like that. And she knows that she has that power because she's one of like the heads to which she's literally on the app, like, you know, in the app store. She's literally on like the fucking cover. But well, back then at least. But that was forever ago, and that, you know, things are different now. She, you know, talked about it and everything like that. But stuff like that, just saying, like, back then speaking, like, you can't even say what you can't criticize people, especially if they have power on whatever platform you're trying to talk to them on. You can't criticize people because they will burn you down into nothing, into dust. If they have that power on the internet, if they have that presence, if they have that community, they will burn you down, and you're just nothing anymore after that. Like, I seen man, no, that the thing I was gonna bring up isn't really correlating with what we're talking about. But just stuff like that. Like, you can't really say what you want on the internet anymore, and I just really don't like that. Like, I don't know when it really happened that you can't express yourself on the internet anymore, which is strange to me because the internet kind of is like a different world from the real world. It's kind of like a completely different thing that you could just pretty much be whoever you want. You could be a fucking supermodel or some shit on the internet if you wanted to. I mean, you could be whatever the hell you want now, but you just can't. You have to filter yourself nowadays, which I feel like is very stupid and detrimental to you as a person, that you have to filter yourself. I remember when YouTube, you could just say whatever the fuck you want. You could cuss as much as you want. You could say whatever you want, and then everybody would just be perfectly fine. Sure, you could have some fucking people in the comments saying whatever they want, but that's fine. Like, now you see Twitch streamers like Kai and Bruce and Rage, whenever they make videos about, like, let's say, like, they're playing a game or, like, they're talking about something and they're cussing, they have to bleep out all the cuss words and stuff like that, because if not, the video will either get age restricted or taken down or demonetized, this, that, and the third. That is just, like, the internet just has become just nothing but this, like, place with, like, yellow cones around it, like, caution, you can't say these words, or you're getting the fuck out of here. Like that's I hate that. I really hate that the internet has turned into like this sort of bubble. Like I get like the internet should be like a safe place or something like that, but in reality it shouldn't. But I mean, I guess in a way you could say it should be from the real world and stuff like that. But I feel like the internet should be a place for you to really be your true self, and you should try to work on that, like translating into your real life. If you can't really express yourself in real life how you do over the internet, I feel like that's just sure to kind of help you, especially if you're talking to people and stuff like that. But now if you're more like secluded and you're just sitting and you have nothing but you're just isolated and you have nothing but a monitor fucking in front of you and stuff like that, it might be hard for you to like translate that into real life because you really don't talk to people. But like censoring yourself, I feel like it's like the worst thing you can do for you. It doesn't make sense to me. I feel like censoring yourself is just really bad for like your whole being. I don't know, but that's just the evolution of the internet, I guess. It used to be this crazy place where you could just say and do whatever you wanted almost, as long as it's not like blatantly like, you know, you know, like the ridiculous stuff like murder and all that other stuff like that you can't do, obviously. But like that's like, come on, that's completely obvious. But stuff like that, like just talking about controversial topics is what I'm saying, is just really you really can't do it or you'll get frowned upon, and that's just really wrong to me. I just feel like that's very wrong. At least respect the opinion. If you disagree with it, but don't try to attack the person just because you don't like what they're saying. I feel like that's very stupid. But I mean, people are gonna say what they say at the end of the day. I mean, there is freedom of speech, I guess, if you want to say, but I don't know. Next thing you know, there's gonna be the next Andrew Tate, the next Sneeko, the next whoever, and they're gonna get fucking banned again. Watch. It just doesn't make sense. But yeah, that's really all I want to talk about in this video. And yeah, make sure you guys like the video, subscribe, you know, comment just your opinions on this whole video, just your opinion on other topics and stuff like that, and I'll try to respond to it or whatever. But yeah, I put all my socials, my Discord, my my Twitch, Twitter, all that links in the description, and I'll greatly appreciate you guys if you check those out. And yeah, see you guys next time. Peace.